working on a fellow birder's bus, replacing his defunct and leaky hydraulic pump for his fan on his Series 60. Seems more often than not these are going bad recently, and so he didn't have the ability to do it, and I have done them before. So I want to give a quick overview of how I do this. The first thing I do to get in here is I drill out these 2 loader rivets here and remove the bottom panel of the bus. It's just easier to get in that way. After I've got that done, you got to go in, and there's bars on each side that have a bolt that goes through that ties into the radiator. Sorry, it's so dark in here you can't see, but there's one here and there's one over here. After you get those done, you got to jump over to the radiator and charge air cooler. You got to do both your charge air cooler hookups. You've got to do your upper radiator hose, 2.5 inch. You've got to do your lower radiator hose, 2.5 inch, and you've got to do your transmission cooler lines on the bottom. Now, what I've done is I've got a piece of line that I use to connect those together, and that keeps the fluid from pouring out everywhere. It'll also give me the ability to start the bus real quick and check to make sure this is not leaking while I've got it out. So in terms of getting the pump out, you've got a 1.5 inch line on the left. On the right, you've got a 1 3/8 inches. You're gonna break those loose, keep them up. Those are gonna have the hydraulic fluid that obviously is feeding it. Once you break those loose, I think this is a 5/8 on each side. You got a nut back behind it, pop that thing out. Oh, don't want to forget, up on top here you got 2 9/16 lines. Those are for the wax valve that kicks up the speed of the pump when you need it higher. And that thing pulls out. These are the pumps. Here you can see the fittings. So you got an intake on one side, you got 2 on the other. Once you get the pump off, you're gonna have to pull this line. It's gonna come and drop all the way to the other side. You gotta get in there and get those things hooked up. It's more of a pain in the butt getting everything out of here. The big thing is the Big Pig radiator. Obviously with that radiator, it's heavy, but I do this by myself. So when you first get your cover off, and obviously you've got your 3 Allen head screws that turn these, and these are just the clips that rotate when you turn them. Get that out. You have your lower panel out, and you're going to want to unbolt your AC condenser cooler from the front. That sits on the very front side of the radiator. It's still wired in there, or tubed in there, hosed in there, still hooked up. Once you get that out of there, you're going to want to take a floor jack, and I do this by myself. Got a floor jack. I put it on the back side of this angle iron. There's just enough lip to lift the radiator to get it on top of this angle iron. Once you've got it on top of the angle iron, you can set it back down on top of it, pull the floor jack to the front side, and you'll have enough to get it on the front side of the radiator. And I jack it up and bring it out. I just set it down here to the side for today. And then I started the cleaning process. There is a ton of, I can't even begin to tell you how much oil and grease was covering this thing. You guys have seen me on the WOG talk about this, as other people. There is a tube that goes from here, from the turbo, up to the exhaust. I told him when we did this that I thought that was going to be bad. It wasn't even attached to the turbo. It had completely rotted off, which is the reason. Let me see if I can get better light. This whole back wall is rotted away. The exhaust was hitting it. Not only was it rotted out down by the exhaust, it was also starting to rot out at the top of the 90-degree elbow. So check those things. You know, you can get them made in stainless steel. They're 5-inch. And so while we're in here, I also went in and replaced all 4 of the tubes. You can kind of see them sticking through there. And one way back there. There's what I think they're 2.5 inch on the bottom. There's 2 of them right here, and then there's 1.5 inch going up. There's one there, and there's one all the way back there. This is the time to do those. When this radiator's out, it gives you a lot of access in here to get things done. So I've spent a couple hours scrubbing. I even shot a quick coat of paint across the bottom tray there. I have ordered a lower radiator hose for them to replace that. The one thing I did forgot to mention, that hub has to come off a standard gear puller. Take the nut out in the center, it's 15/16, and obviously take the fan off. Now, interesting enough, the fan, which is behind me, I spent a good half an hour cleaning this because it was covered in hydraulic fluid. I bet you I knocked a half a pound of weight off that fan. So cleaned it front and back side for him. Did pressure wash the radiator, even though he stated that he had it, I don't know if he had it recored or cleaned or what he did, but in the last couple of years he had that done. You can see the way the charge air cooler just piggybacks onto that. When I did my bus, I separated them all. He'd recently had this done. I will pressure test the charge air cooler before I put it up, just to make sure that everything's good with it. What else do we do? Just a couple other small things. He's got his breather line off his valve cover. And sorry again, the light up here is terrible. This hose was completely routed out, so I've got a new one going in there. Wiped down all of his pipes. I'm sorry to be jumping around here, but now that I see this, there are some trim pieces that have to come out to get the radiator out. This one here is the bottom trim piece, and it goes in, drops in. Let me get a picture here. Drops in like this, straight in, right across the bottom. Just has screws here that actually are going to screw to the top of this panel right here. Now, to get this panel out, once you drill those rivets out on this side, you're also going to have a couple, I believe they're 1/2 inch bolts that go in on both sides. And those are kind of a pain in the butt to get out because you've got to squeeze in between here. That's where they go. So you got to get on the back side of this to get them out. And then there's a couple on that side. Overall, this is definitely a couple-day project, depending on how much you want to get into it with the cleaning and whatnot. But I think it's worth it. Let me take you all and show you his pipe, turbo pipe. Get a quick tour outside here. I've got 2 sides to my shop, and here we go. So, split all the way down the side, hole in the top, and the flange is completely rotted off. This is the side that goes to the turbo. It's supposed to be a flange on here. This is where your pyrometer goes. I was able to save his pyro. Sometimes they won't come out, and so you got to get them from like 4 States truck or something like that. But I mean, this thing was just hammered. It was breaking everywhere. You can see the whole weld here. He does travel with his wife and kids, so feeling good about finding that mess. But hopefully have this back together here shortly. Hope it helps.